Hey, what's up guys? It's Dario from Bluebird and welcome to another episode of Roastery Life. I can't think of a more appropriate topic for our series than the process I've been through in buying the 3 roasting machines we've had to purchase so far. This is a big topic. I hope I'm going to cover it effectively. We'll see how we go. This is by no means a comprehensive guide to buying a roasting machine. I think that for every business and for every business owner, depending on your goals, depending on the finances available to you, the process that you'll go through will be very, very different. In the process of building Bluebird, I've had to buy 3 separate roasting machines now. The third is being manufactured as we speak. It's coming from a company called Genio, and we'll get to that in just a minute. What I'm hoping to do in this video is to share with you the thought process behind purchasing these 3 machines. They were bought for very different purposes at different times of our journey in this business. So the first machine I ended up buying was an Alio Bullet. It's a 1 kilo electric roaster with fantastic software, some great features, but most importantly, it was available. In South Africa, we have this very, very interesting situation where we have a lot of coffee being roasted, we have a lot of roasting machines being bought, but we don't have any representation of international brands in this country. Very, very hard to go and test drive a roast machine before buying one, and more on that a little bit later. So in this process of trying to find a machine to roast coffee at home as a hobby that maybe could pay for itself by selling some coffee to friends and family, I came across a second-hand machine available locally. It was a decent enough price, and I decided to pull the trigger and go for it. Absolutely no idea what I was doing, and at that point I had still never seen green coffee before. So some may say it was a little bit crazy, but for me it was a small enough investment that I knew I would have fun with it. I knew I'd eventually pay it off through the process of selling some coffee to friends, and I knew it was going to be a lot of fun. So let's talk about some pros and cons, some good and bad of the Alio Bullet specifically. If you're in the market for one, it's good to know these things. There have been some updates since the machine that I bought, but these are the little niggles I found and also the positives I found on my specific machine, which, by the way, has been sold to a friend on Lake Kariba in Zambia, and he's roasting coffee for his hotel on the shores of Lake Kariba. So the Bullet lives on, which is flipping exciting. So some of the good things about the Bullet. It's a small batch roaster. If you want to be a hobbyist roaster and you want to roast at home on your veranda like I was doing, it's great to roast in small batches because you get to roast more frequently. I was roasting between 400 and 800 gram batch sizes depending on the coffee with great results. And with smaller batches comes the opportunity to roast more frequently, which is great up to a certain point. We'll come to that just now. The Alio software is absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I really appreciated so many of the small, well thought out features. And I think that is one of the biggest positives with the Bullet is the ecosystem of software and hardware. And we'll come back to that concept when I talk about the Genio just a little bit later on. It's cheap, it's fun, and you can roast some fantastic coffee on it. Let's talk about machine number 2. The second machine I ended up buying was a Golden GR10. Today, this is the machine I'm still roasting on. It's at the back of our roastery behind me. And it has been a fantastic machine for us. We've won some awards roasting coffee on that machine, and it's a true testament that you don't need the latest and the greatest to be able to roast coffee really, really well. As a friend of mine who's a Q grader said, he can roast better coffee on a frying pan in his kitchen than most roasters in this country on the latest equipment. It doesn't come down to the machine only, it comes down to technique, to green coffee, to approach, and the GR10 has been a great machine for us to really cut our teeth, to start building a business. So how did I come to buy a Golden GR10? At the time of moving from the Bullet to a larger machine, I didn't know if this was a business yet. But at the very least, if I had enough small customers, I could eventually pay off the Golden without having to spend all day, every day roasting coffee, which is what I found myself doing on the Bullet. So it was very fortunate that I got to go and see one in operation in Durban. I enjoyed the mechanics of the machine. It seemed very simple to operate. I didn't know much about roasting coffee at that time. The owner of that machine was very happy with it, very happy with the service of the company. I subsequently got in touch with Golden, and I worked with a really great guy who helped me through the process. He put me in touch with more than 10 Golden owners around the world who I got in touch with, asked them what they would change about the machines if they could change one thing. Took all of those one things, went back to Golden, asked them to tweak and modify the machine for me, which they did. We changed temperature probes, we moved the placement of the probes, we installed a double wall drum instead of a single, we upgraded the gas controls, we put in electronic controlled drum speed, and a few other bits and pieces. And I can honestly tell you that it's a fantastic machine. I've roasted some great coffees on it. We've released some great coffees roasted on that machine, and we've got great feedback. And the main reason for moving on from that machine now is, once again, capacity. We're now at the point where we're spending too many hours on too many days a week roasting coffee, which is getting in the way of growing other aspects of our business, even though we're a 3-person roast team now. Got delivered to, at that time, which was my house, which is where we were roasting coffee. And it arrived on a flatbed bakkie in a crate with no one except the driver to offload it. And he arrives at my house and says, "Where's your forklift?" And it was the funniest moment ever, but slightly depressing as well. So we took $1,000, went and found some guys down the road who were available, brought them around, and I think it was 10 of us ended up lifting this crate off the back of the bakkie. Scariest moment of my life. Put it down on the driveway, dragged it into the garage, and a few days later, friends of mine and myself broke open the crate, pulled this roaster off, moved it into our roasting space, which was only about 30 square meters, and installed this beautiful, shiny new machine. And then came the scariest moment actually in the whole process, which was turning it on for the first time. You've got to remember, I was used to this tiny little bullet sitting on my counter plugged into my wall socket, which had all these electronic controls that wouldn't let you, preheat the machine too hot, and all these different safety features. And the Golden had very few of those, if any. So now we've got this big gas burner. I hate gas to start with. Firing it up for the first time was quite a scary process. Figuring everything out from scratch. The owner's manual was about 10 pages long and said very little. The whole process was very, very intimidating, I must be honest with you. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, I think what is key to understand with this purchase in particular was that this wasn't a business yet. It was still a hobby transitioning into something more. And I really didn't want to spend too much money. There were other great options on the table from a roaster perspective, a roast manufacturer perspective. And what it came down to was this was a well-priced machine. It had enough technology that I was happy to get started on it. And I was aware from day one that there would be limitations. So I wasn't disappointed when it arrived. You're running to the back of the machine to control airflow. You're running to the, bending down to the front to control your gas controls, your drum speeds on the front of the machine. It's not all on a pretty little control panel. However, if you want that, you're going to be spending 4 or 5 times the price. So for its need at that time, it was absolutely perfect. And I've loved roasting on this machine. I've taught a couple of people to roast on it as well. And today we've got a well-oiled roast team putting out some great quality coffee on the Golden GR10. But in a few weeks' time, the GR10 will be making its way to Swaziland to its new owner to continue its life roasting some great coffees, and we will be expecting our new machine to arrive. This is an exciting moment for me. This is an exciting moment for our team, and it's been one heck of a process to get to this point. The decision to buy the Bullet was literally a 1 or 2 day decision. The decision to buy the Golden was like a week long. The decision to buy our new Genio has been months and months of planning, and I'm absolutely thrilled with our decision. So I'm going to do my best now to take you through the process of understanding why we ended up choosing this particular machine, why we spec'd it the way that we have, why we've added a destoner to the process as well, and what we're hoping this machine is going to be able to deliver to us as a team, as a company. So the main reason for moving on from the Golden is literally batch size and capacity. We've scaled our business to the point with the Golden now that we are roasting too much, too frequently. And what this causes is a situation where we don't have time to do a lot of the other things that need to be done to run this business successfully and to give you guys the best service that we can possibly give you. We also have a lot of demand on our wholesale program. We have a bit of a waiting list of companies who would like to join us, but we don't have capacity for them right now. And we are very, very focused on what we're doing to bring the best quality to the market that we possibly can. So as I mentioned earlier, the goal for you and your business at the point of buying a roasting machine will be fundamental in the decision-making process. And where Bluebird is right now is we've grown to the point where we truly believe that we can become significant players on a global level. We really want to bring some of the best quality coffee to market that we possibly can. And we cannot possibly do that without working on the best equipment that money can buy. That brought us to this decision-making process. I like shiny things. And if you know roasting machines, you know what I'm talking about. The luring. I was obsessed for 2-3 years and determined to own a Loring. So when it came time to look to upgrade, in my mind, it was Loring and everything else. Now, I've been in touch with the lovely people at Loring. I've spoken to Loring owners around the world, and I am convinced that the Loring is the best technology available right now in the coffee roasting space. I absolutely love the machines, and I think that if money was not a consideration in this whole process, the decision between Genio and Loring would have been much more difficult. I am ultimately very happy with what we've decided to do, but for a long time it was Loring versus everything else. The biggest reason we turned away from Loring was literally cost. For us, it was a difference of about R1 million to get the setup that we're getting to a Loring setup at that time with the exchange rate as it was. And at that moment in time, it was just too much of a difference. It was going to add a significant amount of money price-wise to the cost of our coffee, and we work in a very price-sensitive market. We didn't think that it was a necessary stretch for us to have to go away from the machine we've bought to the Loring. Maybe one day we'll change our mind, but right now we've made the right decision based on cost, value and technology. I think we found a good balance, which is fantastic. The way that a lot of people get to roast on Lorings in Europe is that there'll be a roastery. They'll purchase a machine and then rent time on that machine to different roasteries. Some of my favorite roasteries in the world don't actually own their roasting machine. They rent time on a roasting machine. And in South Africa, that's not a done thing. Once we decided that Loring was not on the table, we got to everything else. What's really, really interesting to understand here is that roasting technology to a large extent hasn't really changed in a long, long time. We're roasting on drum roasters with gas burners under a rotating drum with airflow being pulled to that drum by a big fan. However, there have been some small shifts in technology. There's been a shift in materials being used. There's been a shift in software and data capturing, which allows us to roast more consistently. It allows us to taste and then adjust very accurately because we've got a roadmap that takes us back to where we were in the previous batch, and we can change direction slightly if that's what we want to do. Although the macro technology in roasting machines hasn't really changed, it's the minutiae that makes a big difference at this stage. So for us, it came down to 3 machines. It was the Giesen, the Diedrich, and the Genio. Both the Diedrich and the Giesen are amazing, amazing machines. One made in America, one made in Europe, and very, very popular around the world. What I liked about the Giesen is, first of all, it looks amazing, and that's super important. Secondly, there's some really clever technology when it comes to adaptive airflow. And I liked the consistency factor of the cast iron drum. So once that drum gets up to temperature, once it's stabilized at temperature, you should be able to have repeatability batch after batch after batch, which is fantastic if you're roasting a lot of the same coffee. What I don't like about the Giesen, is the fact that it's got a cast iron drum. The Giesen was a definite option. It is a 15 kilo drum, was going to give us the jump in capacity that we needed. I was quite happy with that. It was a definite option, but I was actually a little bit more excited about the Diedrich, to be honest with you. The downside to the Diedrich though is that they've changed the machine size over the years. The machine that would be most appropriate to us would be their 12 kilo machine, roasting at about a 10 kilo batch size. Now we're roasting 7 kilo batches at the moment, and to go from 7 to 10, although the technology looked really good, just wasn't a big enough jump for us to justify the big spend to go from our current machine to the Diedrich. And that's basically all it came down to. I love so many things about the Diedrich, and I think it's a fantastic machine. I like the IR burners. Some of my favorite roasteries in the world roast on Diedrich. There used to be a 25 kilo machine that they don't make anymore. If I could have found a secondhand one of those, I might have been really interested in that. Some of the other reasons why later on I decided it was probably a wise move is that the parts on the Diedrich, all the screws, all the fittings and everything are not available locally. We're talking about imperial thread, we're talking about, American made components, and everything has to be bought through Diedrich. So whenever you need to service the machine, whenever you have something break down, it's going to be an expensive process to get it up and running again. If you need tech support, you have to fly somebody out from America or from Europe, which is going to be expensive. And at the end of the day, it is a machine, things do break. It was definitely a part of the consideration. The Genio then into the picture. Well, it was always in the picture. The main reason why I wasn't keen on the Genio to begin with, to be honest with you, is that in South Africa, when you're trying to differentiate yourself from the rest of the market, it is interesting to buy the same machine that so many roasteries in South Africa has. have. But that's not a good enough reason not to buy a Genio, is it? So I was in touch with Neil again, I was in touch with the team, and I wanted to learn about what their machines are offering right now. And at that point in time, they had just released a new model. I think the name's been changed, but when I was confirming my purchase, it was called the Pro upgrade, and it's got some really interesting features. One of those features is a ceramic coated drum to get a more even heat distribution. The burner on the Genio is slightly off center, so you've got better control over conduction and convection heat transfer, which is really interesting to me. It's got an adaptive airflow control, which is technology that I believe is similar to what the Gießen has. I'm looking forward to playing with it and getting to understand it. We've got a more sensitive and more accurate gas pressure gauge, which is going to be fantastic for repeatability. And one of the things that is probably the most exciting to me when it comes to the Genio is this concept of the ecosystem. Now, Apple have just released, I think it's called the M1 chip, that is going into their new MacBook Pros. You can now choose between the previous Intel chips and the M1 chips. And essentially on paper, the specs of that particular chip are not exciting. It's not a huge leap forward. But from the reviews I have watched and read, the technology working together, designed to work together, has taken the performance of that machine forward a huge amount. The battery is like twice as effective, would last twice as long. The processing power of the machine has gone up incredibly, even though the specs of the machine haven't changed that much. And the reason is because it's all designed to work together. It's all designed to integrate. It's built for the purpose of running that machine. And that is what I believe, what I hope to experience with the Genio. We've got a machine and we've got software, but the two are literally designed to work together. I'm looking forward to working on an ecosystem designed for each other. The different components are designed to work together, and that's very exciting to me. We've got extremely high expectations for this machine. Not only is it going to allow us to increase our batch sizes, in other words, increase our capacity by double, so we'll go from a 7 kilo batch size to somewhere between 12 and 15 kilos. We'll figure that out once the machine gets here. But we are excited for the technology. Basically, the way I look at it is it's like having a toolbox with more tools in it. Is it going to allow us to revolutionize the way that we roast coffee? No, I don't think so. We're still working with the same principles. We're still working with the same ideas of heat transfer. And the coffee is still reacting to heat in the same way, but we may just have more control over how we apply that heat, how rapidly, in what way, and that really excites me. I'm looking forward to some of the other technologies, some of the nice to haves. Our hopper door opens from a press of a button. We drop the coffee into the cooling tray through the press of a button. The cooling tray has some really interesting technology as well, with a stop-start function to help rapidly cool the coffee, which I'm looking forward to. And then there's some really cool things that we've been able to do. Because we're buying the Pro upgrade model, which is the top-end model from Genio right now, part of a pilot program where we're getting to choose colors, we're doing custom wood, leathers, signage on the machine, all kinds of stuff, lighting options, and it's been really a thrilling process to be able to put this together and to know that we're going to be exceptionally proud of the machine when it gets here, and we can't wait to show it off to everybody. We've also chosen to add a destoner to our setup. Basically, a destoner takes the coffee from the cooling tray, spins it and uses gravity to separate anything denser than the coffee. So if there are any stones in the coffee, they'll be removed. And it just helps us to ship out a product with no defects from a foreign object point of view, and have full confidence that people are getting coffee only, which, trust me, is not always predictable. Our experience with Genio so far has been nothing short of incredible. The level of attention to detail has been absolutely incredible. We were invited up to Joburg to go and visit the factory, this beautiful new facility that they've just built, and that just gives me confidence. Obviously, it makes you feel good in the whole buying process. You are buying a big piece of expensive equipment. I'm really confident for the after-sales support that we'll be able to receive from Genio if we inevitably do need their support as we go forward in our journey in business. We'll obviously do some follow-up videos once the machine gets here to share our real-world experience with it, to be able to tell you, has it lived up to expectations? Has it delivered on the promises? Has it given us the ability to achieve greater quality and scale our business? Is it a machine that we would recommend to other people? We are very excited about what this machine is going to allow us to do. So guys, I hope that gives you a bit of an insight into the thought process behind buying a roast machine. Obviously, if you've got any follow-up questions, please do write them in the comments below. We'd be very keen to do follow-up videos to this, maybe even hold some sort of live chat or Q&A to talk about this process. And all I can speak about is what my experience has been. I'm really, really excited to share with you the real world experience after roasting with our new Genio in just a couple of months' time. So I hope this video is helpful, and we'll chat soon in a later episode. Cheers, guys.